Most people walked out of the Backrooms movie thinking that Clark was just a broken man who lost his wife in a messy divorce. But I don't think Barbara left Clark. I think the movie is trying to tell us that she never left alive. The thing that nobody is talking about is that the Backrooms never shows you Barbara. It also never lets you speak to Barbara. And when Clark goes back to the house that he's still paying for at night in secret, she's not even there. The movie wants you to call that a detail, but I'm going to go ahead and call it evidence. There are 5 specific details of this film that describe a perfect murder cover-up. And by the end of this video, you're going to see this movie in a completely different way than before. So here's what's on the line. I have 5 minutes to prove to you that Clark killed his wife, and if I don't, then you can leave a hate comment or whatever you want to do, I don't know. And if every one of these scenes has an innocent explanation, then the theory completely falls apart. But before you start writing your hate comments, let's go through every piece of evidence. Starting with Exhibit A, the house. Clark is still paying for a house that he does not live in. The movie tells us this up front. He's sleeping on the display beds in his own furniture store, he's very behind on his bills, and he's barely keeping the lights on. And yet, the house payments are still going. Most viewers assume divorce, she kept the house, and he's very bitter about it. But at one point, Clark goes back to that house, at night, completely alone, and with a spare key. When he arrives at the house, Barbara is nowhere to be found. There's no lights on, there's not a car in the driveway, and there's not a single sign that anyone has lived there for weeks. If Barbara had the house in a divorce, she would be in it. But if she moved out, Clark would stop paying for it. So ask yourself the only question that matters. Why is Clark maintaining an empty house? The most uncomfortable answer is the simplest one, obviously. He's keeping up the appearance that someone still lives there. Let's move on to Exhibit B, and let's talk about the therapy sessions. This is the first point where the movie starts behaving more like a cover-up. Mary runs this roleplay exercise, and she's the one playing Barbara, and she recreates the argument the night Clark came home drunk, broke a glass, and got kicked out. And one interesting detail is that Clark never says that he misses her. He never says that he wants to fix things, and he never asks Mary how to get her back. Clark doesn't talk about Barbara like a man who lost somebody. Clark talks about Barbara like a man defending himself against an accusation. Every single answer that he gives is just a deflection. We know that grief makes you talk about what you lost. We also know that guilt makes you defend what you did. Now I want to talk about Exhibit C. The Backrooms does not create things randomly. From the movie, we know that it copies things and it misremembers the people and places connected to whoever was inside of it. And one of the first still lifes that Clark runs into is his ex-wife. The Backrooms built Barbara. Clark recognizes her almost immediately. He builds his entire life in the Backrooms around her, he eats dinner with her, and sits across from her every night. And what does the movie choose to show next? It doesn't show Clark being a loving husband, it shows Clark cutting her apart. He scalps the Barbara still life, and puts it on Mary's head so Mary can play the role more convincingly. Stay on this image for a second. Clark is so fixated on recreating what happened between them that he literally dismantles this woman to rebuild her the way he needs her. This is not the behavior of a man who misses his ex. I have 2 more exhibits to go over, and these are the most convincing ones that I could find. And the second one involves Kat's severed head in the refrigerator. And if Kat died during one of Clark's reenactments, then the movie has already shown us exactly how Clark's obsession ends, which makes Barbara the obvious next question. I want to bring your attention to Exhibit D. When Mary wakes up tied to a chair in Clark's dining room, he opens the fridge. And when he opens this fridge, we see the severed head of Kat. Now, when everyone saw this at first, they just thought Clark had fully lost his mind, and he has. But look at this pattern. Mary is not the first person Clark has dragged into one of these reenactments. Kat was. Clark's compulsion to recreate the argument, force someone to play Barbara, and make them say what Barbara said escalates every single time. And with Kat, it went all the way. And now with Mary, he's trying it again. And the final exhibit I want to talk about. This one is the most important, and it happens in the one scene where Clark lets his guard down. When Mary finally snaps, tied to that chair with Kat's head right in front of her in the fridge, she doesn't say, "Your wife left you." She says, "Your wife couldn't handle you." She tells him he has blamed everyone but himself. And Clark goes quiet. He agrees to untie her. This silence only makes sense if Clark already knows that somewhere underneath all of it, he is the reason that Barbara is gone. Not gone from the marriage, gone. In conclusion, this movie gives Barbara exactly one appearance, an old photograph on the wall of Clark's store. She never speaks, she never shows up, and she is never accounted for. And yet the Backrooms Backrooms built a version of her, which means Clark carries her with him at all times, which could also mean that she is haunting him. If the Backrooms really reflects what Clark is trying to suppress, then she isn't just somebody that he lost. Maybe the thing he can never admit happened,